What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're having a look at the 10-star difficulty of the brand newly released KIZUNA Clash versus the 4 Emperors. So of course this is a super boss KIZUNA. This video is not talking about the super boss, we're just looking at the normal KIZUNA first. You need to get that KIZUNA done so you can acquire the super boss coins to actually take on the super boss itself. It is really late when I'm recording this video right now, so I'll get this video up for you guys, and then tomorrow I'll get a video done for you guys in regards to the super boss. But as for the first team here, this is the first team that I talked about in my treasure map, or not treasure map, but KIZUNA Clash preparation video, utilizing Gold Roger. So a lot of these teams are going to be using a lot of the 10th anniversary characters, because I feel like a lot of people may have been able to secure to acquire a lot of these units, but we've also got another team, you know, for each of these ones that just use different units, right? So having a look at this team with Roger, I think this team's okay. The real kind of issue with this team is the barrier on the final boss stage, because you actually have to manually hit your 4 greats in order to break through that barrier, as well as the fact that you don't really get matching slots on the first turn of attacks. So it could definitely use a little bit of support. And the real issue with this team as well is if you don't have the Halloween Koala like I do in this team, you actually kind of have to use S-Snake as your friend captain to get around the health cut pain debuff shenanigans. It's really nasty, some of the stuff that occurs on this stage. So using S-Snake, which we will look at in the next team coming up, just makes a lot of sense versus the quick variation. Moving on now to our secondary team versus the quick variation, we're going to be using the 10th anniversary Ace as our main captain. We also have a lot of other really powerful sub-units as well. This is the first time in a very long time that I'm actually using Luffy and Yamato. They're actually pretty good for this, so then they synergize well with the Ace character, and it just kind of works, which is nice. We're also using the Sanji character, the Rush Sugo Sanji. He's really strong here, using his special ability on stage 2 to give you a full board of recovery slots, switch him into the captain position, activating the super class. Just getting around those slots being badly matching just is really nice. And he also removes the defense up, which is arguably the most important thing about why Sanji is good for this particular stage. And then of course moving into that final room, activating the Luffy and Yamato special provides you increased damage taken. It provides an orb boost, and of course Ace extends the orb boost because there is the damage limiter. Potentially you could build a team around using Enma Zora as your captain with Hiyori as a crewmate. I think that is a pretty viable strategy. I haven't personally built a team around that, but considering the damage limiter that occurs on the final stage, I think that's potentially something that could work. But due to the healing debuff stuff that occurs in the final stage, I think that's probably one of the main reasons why it won't be a very viable option. Potentially could still use Halloween Koala as a sub, considering she does give color affinity to free spirit. So yeah, Enma Zora is a potential strategy that you could employ against this one. Of course, we are taking multiple turns to kill because of the damage limiter. On the secondary turn, there is damage threshold, which is why we have Robin and Jinbei. Alternatively, if you actually just delay Buggy, he actually won't inflict the damage threshold, so that's also something that you could take into consideration versus the fight. And then having a look at our final team that I have versus the quick variation, this is going to be a team that not many people are going to be able to build because we did, of course, luckily get S-Snake, and due to that, we're going to be using double S-Snake teams for a couple of these variations because, of course, I want to try and get as many Super Boss coins and KIZUNA tickets as possible, so we're going to try and build around that. Luckily, the Anniversary Legends all kind of synergize well with S-Snake. S-Snake boosts Dex units, Cerebral units, and Powerhouse units, so no matter which one you have, like any of the Anniversary units, they're all boosted under S-Snake, and I don't think that's a coincidence. They obviously wanted that to be the case, and they kind of built it that way. Now, the final unit that you're seeing on this team is the World Clash Blackbeard. If I remember correctly, he is accessible from the Sugo Medal Exchange, so that's kind of cool. Only reason why he is here is because he does remove the defense up, he provides an attack boost on stage 2, but he also allows us to apply the support of Lafitte, meaning that anytime we're inflicted with blindness, it removes 2 turns of it. We also have Makino support attached to Shanks, doing the same thing, but it removes 3 turns of blindness. So this means that after level 31, where we do get inflicted with the blindness debuff, we can straight up just remove it via the support. So I think this is a pretty solid team that gets the job done versus the buggy fight. It also removes the barrier, which is really, really helpful too.
No.
Now we can have a look at the next boss color, which is the Psy variation. This first team we're going to be using Bonnie, 6+ Bonnie as our captains here this time around. And this is actually not too bad of a team here. The Robin that you're seeing on the bottom row is accessible via the Sugo Medal Exchange for 100 Sugo medals. And she's really nice because she does remove the burn and the attack down that's inflicted on stage 2. And we can also use the Law Special on stage 2 as well. Reason for that is because Law Special gives you an orb boost for your int characters, and then you also get a clock buff saying that after 1 turn has elapsed, you'll get another orb boost. So Law's really nice to be using on this stage. I actually did, on my first run recording of this, I didn't activate Law Special, and yeah, it didn't kill and it didn't go very well. Realizing that I remembered that Law activated orb boost on multiple stages, yeah, just use Law Special, and also you could switch your Koala or your Sabo into Koala just to have another int character to receive that orb boost from Trafalgar Law. Do note though that one of your characters in the middle row gets switched into the captain spot starting from level 31 and above, so you do have to keep that in mind. So make sure that the characters in your middle row are actually characters with relatively good captain abilities. Moving on now to our secondary team versus the Psy variation, we're going to be using Luffy this time as our main captain, the 10th anniversary Luffy, with the friend captain of S-Snake. Now, because S-Snake's captain ability does remove burn and blindness completely, you kind of don't really need to worry about the burn debuff that occurs on stage 2. But this Robin just removes the burn and the attack down, so realistically, if you don't want to spend the 100 medals for Robin and you have similar units here, also Vegapunk is not really needed for this team either he just has a really good captain ability, so potentially after level 31 and above, Vegapunk can become the captain, but, you know, as I said, he's not really required. But yeah, Robin can just be replaced by a unit that removes attack down, but of course you do want to also run units that are able to activate Luffy's EX Super, because that does give you just more damage, right? So it's just nice to do it. But yeah, I guess it's kind of not important to do that either, because the color affinity doesn't really matter, especially for this stage, and because Luffy gets switched out of his captain position, you know, it is kind of what it is. But another thing is that you do need the 3 units on your crew to trigger the EX Super and also the Super Tandem, or the Rush, should I say. So if you do want to use the Rush, you do need to fulfill that condition of having, you know, 3 Straw Hats, Law, Kid, I think Yamato counts as well. I can't remember exactly the list of units, Ace, Sabo, Shanks, whatever it is. So, you know, you can build around that, of course, but this team works pretty well, gets the job done, does a hell of a lot of damage. S-Snake definitely carries here, which is really nice. And then for the final team versus the Psy variation, we're going to be using the team that has the double S-Snake friend captain, and we're going to be using S-Snake as a crewmate this time around. So as I mentioned, that after level 31 and above, that one of the characters in your middle row will be switched into the captain position. And of course, if you've got the anniversary units, it really doesn't matter that much, because all of them will boost S-Snake because of the way that S-Snake's classes and colors are kind of designed. And the thing is when you activate the EX Super of Luffy, Shanks, or Ace, they change the first class of the other units into the, you know, shooter or fighter or cerebral for each of the units. So because of the way that it's kind of structured, you can kind of get around all of the gimmicks, which is actually pretty cool with the anniversary units, and they all kind of synergize somewhat together. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but it does get around it, which is kind of nice. And we are using Nami on the team as well to remove some of the chain debuffs that are inflicted to our crew. And of course, S-Snake does apply a very, very hefty 2.0 chain addition, providing good damage, and then obviously the good utility with that super class, removing the chain attack downs, and also that special for removing the bad slot effects and all that, and providing the weakness debuff. Like, it's just, S-Snake, of course, is going to be very, very good for this content, as it is kind of designed around her, you know, surprise, surprise. And now we can have a look at the final color variation for these bosses, which is going to be the Int team. Now for this team, we're going to be using the hybrids of the 2 Psy Gear 5s. We've got the friend captain being the 6-star Luffy, and that is actually important, that the friend captain is the 6-star Luffy, and your own captain being the 6-star plus Luffy. Now I did make a minor mistake because I just didn't know if it was going to work that way. My theory for this team is that Shirahoshi and Mancherry can remove a lot of the nasty debuffs inflicted to the crew, and it doesn't really matter. However, after seeing how the order of operations occurs for this, you would probably want to shift the order of characters on your squad. So what happens is after you kill stage 2, one of the characters on your bottom row becomes the captain for, I think it's like 4 or 5 turns. So you want one of the characters in your, or ideally both of the characters in your bottom row, to have a really good captain ability. because I thought that Shirahoshi and Manshiri with their special would actually remove Captain Swap. However, I am incorrect. I thought that they had the ability to do that, but apparently Captain Swap is not considered a debuff. Captain Swap, for some reason, is considered a buff, and that would mean that Shirahoshi and Manshiri can't actually remove it. So you would definitely want to put Law and Kid on the bottom row. You could potentially exchange your chopper for another character, because you don't really need to remove the burn, because Shirahoshi and Manshiri can be used to remove the burn instead. You see, I can remove chain attack down and normal attacks only, so you can replace Chopper with someone with a really, really good captain ability instead of him. And having a look at the next team, which is going to be using the S-Snake friend captain with the 10th anniversary Shanks as the main captain. Now for this team, the Luffy crew and the Boa Hancock legends are not really required at all. They're just kind of here because they kind of synergize with the rest of the squad, and you can kind of abuse them in really cool ways. But the Uta and the Gordon are really, really nice units. Specifically Gordon here. Gordon generates tandem slots and also gives us a chain lock to get around the really nasty effect where if your chain exceeds 3.25, you get really big attack down, and also generating those tandem slots to get around that barrier. And we do use the Uta. Now Uta does have captain swapping, and because we have captain swap active, the enemy's captain swap when you kill them will not trigger, and then we can use Uta's super type to remove the captain swap when we reach the last stage, as well as providing us with a guaranteed delay through full immunity, meaning that Uta's special to provide an attack boost, but also the conditional boost will become activated, which is pretty nice. And of course, S-Snake as a friend captain is really good too, because it does provide damage reduction, which means that the severe death hit that Buggy inflicts to the crew, we don't really have to worry about that at all, which is kind of nice as well. And of course, that super type removing the chain attack down is really clutch. And finally, looking at my own team that I have here for the event versus the Int variation, I'm going to be using the double S-Snake with the Anniversary Legends as well as Sangoro. Sangoro was used in the first squad, being able to get a chain lock, a 2.75 chain lock, so that we don't have to really worry about that chain attack down. Or it's a chain attack down where if it's above 3.25, we get really big attack down effects. And Sangoro basically locks our chain at 2.75, so we don't exceed that set value. And then the rest of the Anniversary Legends carry pretty hard. Shanks gives color affinity that's extended by 1 turn. We get it for the final room. Shanks resists bind as a captain. His special ability removes the barrier on the enemy side of the field. And then of course, when we reach the final stage, we can basically activate the rest of the specials, and we can win from that point onwards. And it doesn't matter who becomes the captain, because as I said, if Ace becomes the captain, his super class or EX super changes everyone's class, and it doesn't really matter. Everyone's going to be good to go. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Wishing you guys the best of luck on your grind on the KIZUNA Clash. As I said, I'll bring you guys a super boss video once I wake up tomorrow, and hopefully we can get some good stuff going. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.